Thanks for YouTube. There we go. It's working. We're live. Huzzah.
Yay, we did it.
We did it. We have people in
Hello
chat.
there.
What's up, Joe? What's up,
Hello
Adam?
there.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to Star Wars Club. The big day, everybody. It's the finale of season 2 of The Mandalorian. Perhaps the greatest piece of Star Wars that's been made since like 1983.
Seriously.
Absolutely incredible episode. I'm gonna try to get through the night without crying. Because
why?
Every time
No, tears are justified. Don't even.
Let it go.
No, I'm already too late for me.
If you don't cry at this, then you're dead inside. That's it.
Every time I think about Din Djarin's face when Grogu reaches out to him, I start crying. It's just so goddamn good.
Horrible. I have a personal disclaimer. I'm not going to promise that I'm going to make any sense. I'm going to try to be as articulate as I can. But this episode was just so emotional for me. I'm sure many of you can relate. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make any sense.
Yeah.
But I'll do my best.
Well, I feel like we should just start by talking about the very end of the episode, because that's what I'm like dying to talk about. So, I mean, of course, we're talking about like the moment that X-Wing flies on to the very end. We'll talk about the post-credit scene later, but I mean, obviously spoilers. Everyone has seen this. Let's just get into the Luke Skywalker to the end. I want to hear people's reactions to one of the craziest things that's ever happened in Star Wars. Let's start with Jenny, because I can see her face exploding.
I mean, I'm okay. I'm having like B said, like it's like hard to like find words. Like when the X-Wing first comes, and they're like, oh, an X-Wing. My first thought was it's gonna be the Ranger, the Dave Filoni's guy, like, because they always seem to show up when there's X-Wings. So like, but then like a second later, like as soon as there's no answer, I was just like, no, and like and so it's like at that point, like you know what's happening, and you're like trying to process. I mean, the first viewing, I went brain dead. Like I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, and it was so beautifully done, and I don't know. I thought Luke was such a long shot. Like I knew we talked. Like I think someone in the chat said they call my dad wanted me to say on the podcast that he did call it. He thought it was gonna be Luke, and I was like, I don't know, because I can't think of like how they're gonna really do that. I don't know. We talked about Sebastian Stan, and it just, and then like the music shifts, and the like way they switch between viewing on the screens and Grogu little ear twitches and touching the screen. I mean, the ending was the most beautiful, like you just said, it was the most beautiful piece of Star Wars I've ever seen. Like I don't yeah, I mean, Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars. I just rewatched it like yesterday. I watched it again today. Like Return of the Jedi has always been my favorite. I love Return of the Jedi, Luke, and seeing him, and then in that like, and I won't talk too much because I know everyone's like dying to, but just that lightsaber battle scene fighting those Rock'em Sock'em robots, that I'll call them, and mimicking this scene, kind of like that same feeling we got in Rogue One of Darth Vader. I'll let, so it just, that was my initial feeling. Like I was just this like speechless. It made me speechless. Like I couldn't even dissect it. I was just speechless, and I was so like, I was like, we don't deserve this. Like it was amazing. Yeah, and I'll say one like little thing. Even though I still feel like the digital face technology is still not 100% there.
I know.
It's still like a little weird. but I don't care. I don't care because if I'd been in that room and they were like, "Ooh, it's not quite there. Maybe we shouldn't do this." I'd be like, "No, no. Like this was yeah, it was worth it." So yeah.
Absolutely. How about you,
I
Jane?
My initial reaction was incoherent. Just a series of squeeze and flailing like Muppet arms. I wasn't 100% like Jenny said. When the X-Men first showed up, I'm like, oh, okay, they're just teasing. That could be anybody. Don't get your hopes up. And then we see the green lightsaber. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's cool, but they're not showing the face, so it's probably just all misdirection. Don't think anything of it. And I have to say, on the first watching, I didn't see the glove. So I was just like, yeah, it could be anybody. It's fine. Just keep it together while simultaneously I'm like, but it was beautifully done. And yeah, the CGI was not 100%, but it was pretty good. My only complaint was the mouth didn't move enough.
Yeah.
Like if they were gonna do lines with this mouth, it should have been simple, but not. I feel like there was a dial, like somebody in charge of the mouth was like, okay, we don't want people to freak out that it looks bad, so we're just gonna make it move as little as possible. So dial movement all the way down, and it was just like ventriloquist lips. It was like it's not moving enough, and that's distracting. But not a complaint. Totally loved it. I'm really glad that they got actual Mark Hamill to voice everything. It was one of the most emotional moments of all time. I've already watched it multiple times since Friday, and it's just words aren't good enough. How much that episode brought all the feels. I'm so happy.
Yeah. How about you, B?
I mean, I echo what Jane and Jenny have said already. For me, I was really shocked. I mean, I knew it was him the minute we saw him start to fight. Like that, I was like, that's Luke. But I didn't cry until R2-D2 came out. Like that moment for me, I was like, damn it! I was like, okay, you really hit my heart. Like, and the encounter between R2-D2 and Grogu, and just I don't know what it would seem like they were having some kind of conversation or some kind of connection, like because Grogu was really clinging on to Din Djarin's leg, like that moment where he put him down and he was still clinging to his leg and looking up at him. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to explode. But then R2 came through. Grogu came over to R2, and R2 started doing his little R2 shake. He's like, I was like, oh my lord. And then that's when Grogu looked up at Luke and like raised his arms to be taken. And I was just like, oh, what is happening? What is happening? Like I just felt like I couldn't breathe. Like I didn't know I needed this. I was like, it felt like all the hours and time and years I've spent ingesting and loving and consuming Star Wars content, and really the original trilogy just being my most nostalgic, like favorite piece of this canon. It just felt like, yeah, like because none of those characters really know the gravity of who they're in the presence of. You know what I mean? Like everybody else on the bridge, it's like, do you really know who just came into this room? But the weight of the moment it was just so palpable. And that score, the score of this entire episode,
incredible.
I was just like, it is like probably my favorite piece of Star Wars music now. Like it trumps everything else. Like the second time I watched it, I think I watched it 3 times now. I was just like, the score alone does so much storytelling. And it was just, and especially the music that shifted when Luke was coming, it just, oh my God. Like, and the credits and the score overall, just, I felt like really gave it that extra nostalgic honoring, like all this canon. I'm so emotional, but like, yeah, it was just absolutely amazing. And Are we just we're talking about the end of the episode, what you said.
Yeah.
So yeah, that. And then just the fact that like Din Djarin's eyes were all glassy when they were going down the elevator. It's just like he's not crying, but his eyes were all glassy. I was like, okay, I'm totally done.
Oh my god.
I'm a puddle. I am a Star Wars nerd puddle. Like oh my gosh. It was just too much. But yeah, R2D2 is what tipped me over the edge for emotion, because I just felt like in the new trilogy we just didn't get enough droids, and like I felt like it was real once R2 came in. It was like, oh god, this is real. Like, because Luke doesn't go anywhere without R2, and the fact that it made me think of Yoda too, because R2 also went with him to Dagobah. So it's like, inviting Grogu into this threesome here. It was like a little ode to that time that they were on Dagobah. So yeah, there were so many things. One thing I will say that trick that my brain was thinking when he took Grogu, I was transported to episode 8, thinking, is Grogu going to be one of the ones that Kylo Ren, when Ben Solo becomes Kylo Ren and kills all of the other Padawans? Like, was Grogu one of the ones that Luke trained that was killed? Like, I did think about that.
Well, we'll have to come back to that, because I have a lot to say about that. But before we start theorizing about the future, I just want to say that if we're talking about a TV show where the main character never shows his face, that is such a great opportunity for an emotional moment where you see his face. And that's what I've been wanting since day one of Mandalorian, is like, give me some emotional moment with showing his face. And they did a brilliant job of the 2 times we've seen his face so far. One, the last episode of season 1, and the second time in the episode before this, with what's his name? Bill Burr's character, Mayfeld. But I feel like all of that was kind of preparing you for the fact that Din was going to reveal himself to Grogu in this moment, to kind of get planted in this character's head that he doesn't have to have his helmet on all the time when he meets Bo-Katan earlier in the season, and then experiencing it just 1 episode prior of having to take his helmet off to save Grogu's life in a way, and seeing that he didn't die, he didn't like feel this great shame or anything. It seems he, if anything, it seems like he kind of liked being seen. And in that moment when he has to say goodbye to Grogu, he wants to be seen. And then to have these 2 characters, one of whom is a goddamn puppet, to have these 2 characters like stare in each other's eyes and say goodbye. I haven't felt anything like that emotion since the first time I saw E.T., and like when E.T. and Elliot say goodbye at the end of that movie. And you're like, this is crazy. Like, that is a puppet, and that is a little boy, but it doesn't matter. Like, this is a creature from across the stars that has this connection and this love with this human character, and they are real characters, and it feels real, And to have that on the tail of Luke Skywalker showing up when like your emotions are so heightened, and I mean, Luke walking down that hallway, slicing through dark troopers. I mean, the whole thing is like, it's just like a masterclass in how to make a tear-jerking moment. The first time I watched it, when that X-Wing popped up, I'm like, I had the same reaction as Jenny. It's like, oh, wow, the New Republic is here. That's a weird thing to do. And then when there's like, only 1 X-Wing? It's like, oh my God, no, of course, this is the Jedi. Like Andy and I were watching it, and we're like, the Jedi's about to show up, like whoever it's going to be, he's going to show up. I'm like, oh shit, Mace Windu showed up in an X-Wing? That's really weird. But then when he like gets out in his cloak, I was like, that can't be Luke Skywalker. Like, that's too obvious. We've talked about this before. It's like Luke Skywalker is the most obvious choice, and they will never do it. They will never do it. But then he starts fighting, and you see a green lightsaber. I was like, no, it can't. It's someone else with a green lightsaber. And then you see one gloved hand, and I'm just like, it's Luke Skywalker. Oh my God. Like, that's the moment where I knew for sure. And then I just, I'm 100%, this is Luke. He's like slicing through dark troopers. We see the full powered Luke we've never seen. Because, he just finished his training at the end of Return of the Jedi. And now he's become the Jedi Master we've always wanted him to be. just like in Rogue One, like one of you said, we get to see that full powered Darth Vader in Rogue One that we've never seen.
Yeah.
They did it for Luke Skywalker, but then he takes his hood off, and I started clapping. I like slow clapped that moment the first time I saw it, and I will say, I watched it twice, and the second time when he took his hood off, I was like, that is a fake face. And it really bothered me. The first time I was just completely swept up in the moment. I'm like, that is Luke Skywalker. And it's actually Luke Skywalker. I was like, it's going to be Sebastian Stan. I'm like, it's going to be Sebastian Stan. But then they did the de-aging technology. So it is actually Luke Skywalker. They did get Mark Hamill. And I swear they like pitch corrected his voice to get it a little higher because it's gotten so gravelly, because it sounded a little unlike him. But it doesn't matter. Like the technology, like Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker fought a Rancor that looked fake as shit. So who cares, Like it doesn't. Yeah. The moment matters more than the technology that is used to create it. And this moment was so powerful. But even the second time watching it, when Din takes his helmet off, I still cried. Like that's the most emotional moment, I think, in Star Wars of all of it. I mean, there's some really incredibly emotional moments, like Luke Skywalker, turning to the dark side for a second and like bashing into his father, cutting his hand off. Like that moment is so insane and so emotional. I mean, the fight between Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul is so intense and so emotional. But in my mind, this moment is the most powerful emotional moment when Grogu like reaches out and touches Din's face. And these two characters have been traveling together for the last 2 years. Who knows how long it's been, like in continuity, who have this incredibly deep bond, who have never looked upon each other with their own eyes. It's like Darth Vader saying, let me look at you with my own eyes when he takes his helmet off at the end of Return of the Jedi. That moment is the moment, like the defining moment of this entire series thus far. And it's absolutely perfect. And the fact that Luke Skywalker is standing there and watching it, it's like, I can't deal. It's just all so good. It's just so good. Like complete magical transportation into a galaxy far, far away where everything feels 100% real. And then they sell you this moment that is so fake, but it feels so real. Like we got a fake Luke Skywalker, we got a fake puppet, but then we got a real Pedro Pascal who sells every bit of that emotion on his face, and it is real. And that is magic. And everyone across the world who watches this show, millions of people on the same day, feeling that moment. You could feel that in the air. Like I got texts from so many people that day, and I was just like, this is awesome. Like this is what Star Wars is all about. And it's perfect. It's so good. Okay. We got to check in with chat real quick.
Yeah, I think it's a good example. Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Jenny. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I hadn't thought of it. That's a good example, though, like bringing up something like the Rancor in the original, where even back then, you're like, yeah, I know, like, it's not quite there. But that's part of Star Wars, too. They are, like, ahead of the curve. They are creating the technology that other things follow. So I think that's why, like, it like, threw me off a little bit, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I would have preferred Sebastian Stan or whatever. I don't know. It's so hard to recast Luke. But overall, it's like he said, it was so worth it just to get that moment of having Luke's fucking Skywalker back in this. It's worth it.
Yeah. Okay, we've missed a lot of chat. I don't want to ignore our friends that are watching with us. So let's check in with what people are saying here. Yes, I was absolutely expecting Mace Windu, and as much as I wanted Mace Windu, I think Luke Skywalker is perfect. I think that's the best choice, because if you think about it, like who is training Jedi right now? One person in the entire galaxy, and it's Luke Skywalker. It has to be him. So good.
Would we have been satisfied with anyone else taking Grogu away from Din Djarin? Like, Luke is the only one that we would have been able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I thought that a Jedi was going to come.
Make the most sense.
I thought a Jedi was going to come and not take Grogu. I thought that it was going to be like, oh, he's too old, Yeah, like Ahsoka. He's too old. He's too emotional. He's already tapped into some dark side powers with his force choking of those stormtroopers. So I thought it was going to be like a refusal. I thought Mace Windu was going to show up and not take Grogu. But you're right. If someone's going to take him, it has to be Luke. It's the only person that makes sense.
And if anyone would understand starting their training late, it's going to be Luke. Like, he
Yeah.
didn't start as a youngling
True.
in the Jedi
Yeah.
Temple. He was like legally an adult before
Yeah.
he started training.
Yeah, and he was their last hope. They wouldn't have trained him otherwise. Because he was the child of Anakin Skywalker, he has all those. He's got a high M count, as they like to say. We can only assume. Adam says, I was slightly surprised at the quality of the face. Maybe they ran out of money or something. I'm still hoping they will pull in Sebastian Stan for season 3 Luke if he plays a big role in it. This is something I've seen a lot of talk about online. There is now a rumor floating around that they are in pre-production on a Luke Skywalker TV show. Who knows if that's true or not? I mean, there's so many rumors flying around right now, and a lot of them have been false. Like, this rumor keeps flying around that Pedro Pascal has quit the show, which is obviously not true because it's already been confirmed that he's coming back for season 3. I think that it would be better to have a real life actor. I think that this technology is not there yet. I think that Sebastian Stan looks enough like him, and it's like everyone is saying, give me Sebastian Stan. Except for this one moment where the first time you meet young Luke in a surprise moment has to be Luke for it to resonate. It can't be a recasted Luke. Like, can you imagine if we first found out that Han Solo had been recast as Alden Ehrenreich in a surprise moment? That wouldn't have worked. We wouldn't have known who he was.
We wouldn't have been. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's also. Oh my God, what was I just gonna say? Yeah, I forgot. I'm still overwhelmed. Damn it, I had a point, but...
What's up, Keenan, Jesse M? What's up, everybody? Justin's here, Axon Media. Oh, Papa Don't Creech. What's up, Andrew? We got some awesome people in chat. The fight choreography, yes, it was fantastic. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I remember what I was gonna say. The only time still that I think I've seen the digital de-aging where I didn't notice it was in Captain Marvel with Fury, Nick Fury. But I think that's because Nick Fury looked close enough. Like, they didn't, like, Mark Hamill, you can't love Mark Hamill. He's still doing great for his age, but he didn't play the body, right? Like, it had to be a
been long
like,
enough.
He looks too different now. But I think that's why, like, it can work. Like I said, in Captain Marvel, I didn't even, like, think about it. It took me, like, a second of, like, oh, wow, Samuel Jackson's, like, 30 years younger. And then I forgot about it. It worked so I don't know, like, I would almost wonder, like, if someone like Sebastian Stan, if they would cast him, but maybe do slight edits to use it the same way they did with Samuel Jackson, because he looks close enough, but with slight edits, he look like damn close. But it's also hard to imagine that like Mark Hamill's voice as Luke. It'd be weird not having that.
Yeah, I mean, they could cast Sebastian Stan and then overdub him with Mark Hamill, you know? I think there's, hey, what's up, Amanda? Yeah. I think there are other ways to do this that will be more, that's all, it has to be a compromise, you know? Like, we can't go back in time and pluck Mark Hamill out of the time stream to have him come back and perform as Luke Skywalker now. So there has to be a compromise of some kind. And I feel like the one that they went for in this episode is a little too fake looking to use consistently. It's great for like a one-off, like
it was good for this time.
Yeah.
It can't be sustainable though.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't watch a whole show of him like this.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I don't like digital face replacements. It's the one thing about Rogue One that drove me crazy. I thought Tarkin looked like a weird cartoon next to a whole bunch of real people. Just like put a different actor in there, you know? Like, just put his makeup as Tarkin. The voice was so spot on, like we would have known who it was. What I really wanted them to do in Rogue One, and Jenny we went to see that together, right? The first time we saw that, I think that was, and we were like, we like smoked vape in the theater right before it started. And I was like, I hope we don't get in trouble for this. There's the first time you see Tarkin in Rogue One is in a reflection, and if you had only seen him in a reflection, or like from behind, and they had not gone like full turnaround, full close-ups of his face, it would have been so much better.
It didn't need to be a close-up.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Bridge. You can just like show him from across the room.
Yeah.
You can do it it needs to be used sparingly. And also like recasting sometimes, because like the woman, whoever they got to play Mon Mothma
Amazing. Yeah.
From now on, you know, she was in the sequel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like she's just Mon Mothma. Like I didn't even notice that that's not the same. Like there's a lot you can do with hair and makeup and voice who can, you know, get the right voice and I don't know. I mean, it's harder obviously with a character like Luke Skywalker, but
sure. But the internet has already cast Luke Skywalker, you know? Like we've already cast him as Sebastian Stan. I think that's the only person that could have done this. And I'm not complaining. Like it was such a magical moment, you know? I'm just thinking about the future and what I'd want them to do because they've opened this door now and Grogu is with Luke. And we're looking towards the future of the show where it's like, are we losing Grogu forever or are we seeing Luke again? You know, because it's probably one of those two things.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I wonder now, well, I don't know, who knows. The fact that the episode just before this one, we got an entire episode with no Grogu.
Right.
I wonder if they were kind of like, did that intentionally to show us, like, look, we can give you a good episode without, you don't need Baby Yoda, you don't need Grogu in there. Like, if that was kind of like trying to ease us into being without him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Made it up slow.
Yeah. And then you mentioned Mon Mothma. So the woman who played Mon Mothma in Rogue One also played her in episode 3, mostly in deleted scenes. And she also played Mon Mothma in Rebels. And there's a rumor floating around that she's coming back for Rangers of the New Republic.
I heard that. I heard that too.
Yeah. And this is the perfect example where the moment she shows up on screen in Rogue One, I knew she was Mon Mothma. There was no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
And if anything, I was like, that is a magic trick because that is Mon Mothma. And I know that that's harder with Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill has such a distinct face. And we know him so much better than we knew Mon Mothma. Like, we spent so much more time with Luke. But I do feel like putting a real actor and allowing that actor to emote is always going to be better than doing a digital face replacement and trying to animate that emotion. Because I agree with you that Captain Marvel was the best example. I also think that young Tony Stark in... it was Civil War, I think, when they showed a young Tony Stark. That was also like really exceptional. But so the technology can get there, but only when the actor is on set and they're de-aging that actor. I feel like when they have another actor in there and then they swap faces the way that they've been doing with Star Wars, it just doesn't look real at all. Like Luke and Leia in Rise of Skywalker look so fake, you know, so fake.
Well, the technology is out there. I assume everybody at this point knows about deepfakes. They can realistically replace someone's face with someone else's and make it more seamless. I don't understand why they went with this route where someone obviously went in and like hand tweaked some motion capture to make it look like the way that it did, and it was a little jarring. When I don't know, that's a totally different conversation. I loved the episode, and Luke being digital I was fine with it.
Yeah, the ends absolutely justify the means in this case. Yeah. Because it was pure magic. I just want to hear, can anyone think of a more emotional, more powerful Star Wars moment than the end of this episode? I'm looking at you too, chat, because I got nothing.
Not as emotional, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty emotional at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
But nothing like this. Nothing like this. They really set us up to fall in love with these characters. And we already loved the characters from the original trilogy. So it was just like this explosion of like our love for the reason why we're here. You know, like this is the reason why we're here. We're here because those first 3 movies changed us, like moved something in us that about storytelling and sci-fi that we've carried, you know, from childhood. I think all of us have carried it from childhood. So to bring that, you know, foundation of what we already love to a story that they've really like carried us through in such a beautiful way and developed such great relationship between Grogu and Din Djarin and everybody, honestly, in that space. It was, I don't think any of us could have been prepared for it.
Yeah.
You know, like it was just so done so well. And someone, I think, Joe in chat mentioned something about R2D2, that there was a fan theory that R2 was the one who saved Grogu from Order 66, and he's saying that their exchange seems to have confirmed that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Believe that.
I completely recognize him.
I'll believe that. Thank you. All right, great. That's what happened.
I love
is
that.
true.
Yeah, we have
I'll
two
headcanon that, whether
two
it's true or
nominations. We have two nominations in chat for equally emotional moments. Chewie's reaction to Kylo killing Han is a great poll.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
And Han Carbonite, I know. I mean, yeah. See that is
Yeah.
that is an iconic moment. Like that moment is one of the most iconic moments in all of cinema history, and it's brilliant. But it's also confusing. You know, it's like, what's going on? What is Carbonite? Why is he saying I know? Like, that's an asshole thing to say, but it's so Han Solo.
Jerk.
Yeah.
Undercut the sadness.
Very
of the
on
scene.
brand.
Yes. But so like maybe more iconic, but I don't think it's more emotional. Like that moment doesn't make me cry every time I see it. And I know that this just came out like 3 days ago and we haven't had years to live with this, but I will be surprised if I ever watch that without crying because of Pedro Pascal's performance. Like his performance in this episode is one of the best pieces of acting, one of my favorite pieces of acting that I've ever seen in my life. It's just so good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that I feel like I will never forget that experience watching this. Again, that double two of getting Luke Skywalker, but then the way that they shot everything about that scene with him taking his helmet off, the little delicate reach, the way it kind of rhymed and mimicked with the let me see you with Vader and Luke. And yeah, Pedro's, he's so restrained. Like, it's not overacting. It's so subtle. Like, there's just little twitches of his face that still convey a slight uncomfortableness, but that is dissipating. Somehow he finds that sweet spot, the tenderness, and also just, I feel like just how awesome it is just having such a badass action what you consider kind of masculine, and being able to show that just really vulnerable, tender, sweet side with this little child and this father-son bond. And yeah, and the glassy eyes, the and then he puts him down, and Grogu every visual, every shot of Grogu on the ground, and then his sitting by his helmet, and then him cutting his legs and holding his legs. I still don't have words.
I don't need these legs.
Yeah, cutting his legs.
Yeah.
And then, Pedro's whole face, everything about his face was, you could read a million things in his expression with very little movement. And then also there was when Luke picked up Grogu, there's this sweet little Grogu's little hand over his gloved hand that was just very, I don't know, this very sweet little grip of Luke's hand, and the trust that was there. Again, it couldn't be anyone else but Luke Skywalker to put him in his hands. And yeah, there have been other emotional moments in Star Wars for sure, but I don't know. How do they top this? I don't know that they've set the bar so high. I don't even know where they go from here.
Yeah,
we kind of know where they go from here because we'll have to talk about post-credit scene. But
yeah, that's something that I love about this so much, is that this is a ending. This is a definitive ending. The first two seasons of Mandalorian are now a thing, that has a beginning, middle, and end. And TV shows never do this. They never end a season on just a hard stop ending. They could end the entire show right now. They could. I actually thought for a second that they did, because when it says the Book of Boba Fett at the end, I was like, oh shit, the Mandalorian is now a Boba Fett show, which is not true. That's been debunked.
2 separate shows.
Yeah, which is great because that's what I want. But I just think that that's so brave. And the show might never be as good again. It might not. And I don't care, because this is the best moment and I needed it. I love it. I'm so happy about it. So it's just don't hold anything back as a storyteller. Like, if you have a story you want to tell, who knows? Like, if you have a TV show, who knows how long it's going to be on for? There's all of these horror stories about like J. Michael Straczynski writing Babylon 5 and not getting to tell his whole story, having to change everything, and then getting that final season after all. Or like other creators, putting in these beautiful cliffhangers that never get to wrap up their story. Like, if you have an audience and you have a moment and you have a story that you want to tell, do it, In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it. And they just swung for it and they just went for it. And I appreciate that so much. They held nothing back and they ended this part of this story. And it sounds like they've got a whole plan of where to go next. They planted a few seeds of what they can do next as far as, going back to Mandalore. Like this whole thing with the Darksaber with Din Djarin and with Bo-Katan, which we got to get into. So there's places for this story to go. But as far as like Din Djarin protecting Grogu, trying to get him back to his kind, it's over. Like, we did it. So there's other places this can go. But as far as like save the cheerleader, save the world, done. Cheerleader's been saved. World is saved. What's up, Brian Casey?
I agree 100% with what you just said, Jesse. It's so refreshing when show creators or content creators of any kind just tell the story that they want to tell without milking it for like, oh, I can make this 5 seasons instead of 2 seasons. It's like, no, just tell the story that you got to tell. We will love it 1,000 times more because, it's not like, like anime does this all the time. They're like, oh, we need to have 20 seasons of this, and so we're gonna show Goku powering up for like 6 episodes before anything actually happens. Like, come on, just tell the story. And then we have a whole bunch of different shows coming out now to explore this universe, to explore all these characters that they've set up, and it doesn't just have to be everything squeezed into the Mandalorian. I love it.
Yeah.
About on a previous episode, I think, Jess, you asked like, do you think we're going to get tired of this like same formula? Like, Mando rolls in, local town folk ask him for help, and like, this is kind of a way to avoid that. Like, we're not going to get, and now they're going to branch off into something else, and it's maybe going to be a different formula, but it'll never get tiring because it's all going to be from new perspectives and different, probably stylistically different. And I think it's brilliant. As much as like I'm like having trouble parting with baby Grogu and Mando and this story, but it's brilliant.
The moment wouldn't mean as much if it wasn't such a definitive ending. If they go back to business as usual and negate this ending, the show will be over. Like, fans will revolt in the streets. Like, this is a hard stop turning point where they're going to give us something new after. And I've never seen such competent storytelling in my life. Like, it's really shocking how good it is. Okay, we got some awesome stuff in chat here. Other super emotional moments to compete with this as most emotional moment in Star Wars. The Order 66 montage. That's a really good one. That's very emotional. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's emotional, but it's like horror. It's not as moving as different what was happening here. These were choices that these characters were making to part ways because it was better for both of them to do this.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, sometimes, like, I don't know, I just made this up, but sometimes if you love something, you have to let it go. Just words of wisdom that I just came up with. Axon Media says the whole last battle in Rise of Skywalker got me, especially the spirits of the Jedi reaching out to Rey. That got me too. I love Rise of Skywalker. I know most people don't, but I love it. But then, Papa Don't Creech says when Rex turns on Ahsoka in Star Wars was pretty stunning. And I would actually go further and say I would say that when Rex realizes that all of his brothers are going to die, that really got me. Like that. Especially because it's an animated show, that was one of the most emotional moments of Star Wars for me. Like that whole last episode is absolutely incredible. Adam G says the Ewok death scene in Return of the Jedi, which I love that. When that one Ewok like is killed and the other one's like, wake up, and the music is so sad. I mean, that moment, it's like, I'm like a kid and I'm like, man, war sucks. Like, war's fucked up. How dare they like get these Ewoks in the line of fire? Yes.
I thought the last scene of Clone Wars when Vader finds Ahsoka's lightsaber was also a pretty heavy emotional moment. Like, even through his mask, you could just kind of like, I felt like I could see his face, like, you know, similar to how Din Djarin portrays so much emotion. Like, I was not expecting that from the end of Clone Wars to feel that so hard. That's last shot in the snow. That's
the first time that I've ever felt like Anakin Skywalker from the prequels was actually Darth Vader, you know? Because it just seems so disparate from like episode 3 to episode 4. It doesn't seem like the same person inside of that suit. But then in that moment, it did. Mm-hmm. Like, in that moment, I felt Anakin Skywalker and what he turned into as Darth Vader. And it was really, really powerful. Ryan Casey nominates the scene where Bill Burr kills that imp officer. Well written, well acted, emotional. I totally agree. I think that last episode was so fantastic. It was so good. And okay, we have some questions in chat that are going to take us into some deep dives. So let's get into these. So someone is asking about Bib Fortuna sitting there at the end. So let's talk about that post-credit scene. Who had Bib Fortuna on their Star Wars returning character bingo? Because I definitely did not. I even didn't remember his name at first. I was like, oh my God, it's that guy. What is his name? And like the fact that he was much larger than we'd last seen him sitting on Jabba's throne, I was already like an emotional wreck. And I just started screaming. What did you guys think of that post-credit scene? Let's go to B.
Sure. No, I was screaming too, and I was like, "Oh, he's been living fat and happy while Jabba's been dead." Like, all right, you just took over. I was like, everyone's just hanging out, chilling. Life is fine at Jabba's palace. Ain't no worries. Oh no, wait, Boba's back. And he was trying to sweet talk Boba and be like, "Hey, I thought you were dead. What you did?" Like, "Oh no, honey, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it." But I think. What I loved the most was just that final shot of him sitting on the throne and Fennec grabbing some splashka.
I know.
Like, all right, this is what we're doing. And then she cocked her gun, why can't I think of words?
Oh, her blaster.
Yeah, her blaster. Like, she cocked it in a way where it just kind of sat on her, and then she drank the splashka. She was like, "All right, I like our new house. I like our new dig. That's what we're doing next." Like, it was just like there's such a like ease and rapport with them because like she's in his service, and I was just like, oh dang, like they are so badass. Like those two characters have made like as soon as they came back, I was just like, yeah, we were missing this. And like Boba Fett, like the confidence, I'm just like, I will watch him do anything. It's like that confidence. I'm just like, I want to. When a character is that confident, I just don't care what they do. Like I'm gonna jump around a little bit. Sorry. When he was posturing when they went to go find Bo-Katan and her companion, but that whole fight scene is like, what? Why are you trying to prove something? Like it was just. I mean, I didn't care. I was like, why try? But you know what? You're so good at it. I don't care what happens. I'll watch. Yes, Daddy, fight. So like I'm really excited for this next the book of Boba Fett, because we actually get a healthy amount of Boba Fett in the Clone Wars.
Young Boba Fett,
and like when he's like with his band of bounty hunters, and we see him like come across with Asajj Ventress, and they do a job together. Like we see young Boba like after his father's died and he's on his own. So there's pieces of his story kind of scattered throughout the canon as far as like, the animated stuff plus the live action stuff. So like to see what he's going to do now with the rest of his life, knowing what's coming as far as like the First Order, and then like where did the crime syndicates, like what is the state of them? Because we still have Crimson Dawn and like, all this other stuff. So like, I mean, maybe Crimson Dawn's still together, who knows? But so I'm just excited for what may come. But yeah, those are all my initial responses to that final.
That you just made me think. I'm so bummed that Darth Maul has already died, because
I was
seeing
about- yes, I
seeing
know,
Darth
right?
Maul face off against Boba Fett would have been epic. And you mentioned Asajj Ventress. I have to say that I just read Dark Disciple at your recommendation, and it was brilliant. It was wonderful, and I love Asajj Ventress, and she was kind of. Oh, you just started it. Nice. Yeah, this is what I've always wanted as far as like a Force wielder who has been on both sides of the dark and the light and is trying to walk in the middle. And it's one of the better, if not the best, versions of that I've seen from Star Wars. And that's something I've always wanted. I really hope they do that in one of these TV shows. Maybe like The Acolyte will be about that or something with the High Republic era. I think that'd be awesome. Jane, what was your reaction to the last scene, and are you excited about the Book of Boba Fett?
I am so excited. I thought it was kind of a love letter to the originals. Just like homage after homage with like walking down the steps and then taking the throne. I was so, again, with the squealing, like this whole episode, I was incoherent with happiness with everything that happened. And I love Fennec Shand. I love Nina Wen. I cannot wait to see what badassery that they come up with for her as Boba Fett's right-hand woman. I can't wait. Count me in. Take my money, Disney.
What about you, Jenny?
Oh my gosh. I freaking loved it. I'm so excited. And like, it's not at all what I thought was going to happen. I can't remember. I think we talked on air about this, or maybe it was behind, but I thought Boba Fett was going to die in this final episode. I thought that was going to be the emotional thing that we were waiting for. I thought Boba was going to sacrifice himself to save Grogu and Mando as a way to like resolve his, loss of his father by saving, But I'm not. I saw this. I was like, oh no, that's I'm so fine with this. Like, so fine. He's such a great character. I loved him even more in this episode too, because when we first meet him, you kind of get a different side to Boba. Get a little more depth, more nuance. Like, he's got this kind of code of honor, and like you see, like a good guy. But then to see like so much snark and his like kind of like, all right, princess, like just kind of, I was like, I freaking love you. And then that last shot, I was so like, oh, get it, yeah. And then to see him just sitting on Jabba's throne, and Fennec Shand coming up like just like, because she's so confident too, like she like, they have so much chemistry. Oh my god, Hurston just takes a sip of this vodka. Yeah, that like nailed it. Like I'm so excited to see the two of them together more. I'm excited to see how she crosses over from into the Bad Batch and then intertwines with him. I wonder if he'll show up in the Bad Batch now, if we'll get an animated Boba in that. I'm totally happy that we're getting more Fett, and I just, the Book of Boba Fett, I was like, come on, I didn't even know that I wanted this. But now I do. Like, I don't know what I want anymore. I'm going to trust Dave Filoni and Favreau to tell me what I want from now on. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I got to echo that, because when we talked about this before, I was saying how, because Boba Fett had such limited appearances in the first movies, I didn't want that to be overshadowed by this new Boba Fett. I wanted them to be in balance. But those feelings have gone out the window. Honestly, like, Temuera Morrison as Boba Fett is so iconic. He's just so good. This new incarnation of Boba Fett is really powerful. And I'm okay with them now redefining the character however they want to. And I'm ready to go along for the ride. I was terrified when I thought for a second that season 3 of Mandalorian was going to be the Book of Boba Fett, because if Din Djarin goes away, my heart breaks. If that happens, end the show. As long as Pedro Pascal is on the show, keep it going. But all the reports coming out today are saying that's not what's happening. It's going to be separate shows. And I'm totally on board for that. And the thing that really sold me is Fennec Shand, because I love Ming-Na Wen. I've loved her for years. And I want a I want a Fennec show, and we're kind of getting that. So
Yeah.
I'm 100% on board now. Like the brilliance of the storytelling in this last episode completely won me over, and the fact that all of these shows, the New Republic show, Ahsoka, and Book of Fett, and Mandalorian, are all going to be run by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. So, and they're all going to cross. They're all going to cross over at some point. So yes,
Yep.
1,000 times
doing
yes.
An Avengers
Did you
MCU thing.
Mandalorian? Yeah. Wait, did you say? Because my headphones cut out a little bit every now and then. Did you say? Because I was thinking that Mandalorian, so Din Djarin's gonna maybe kind of go to being like a side character that's maybe gonna show up like somehow wherever Bo-Katan goes and da. But that the Mandalorian, the show, the Book of Boba Fett is the Mandalorian. So you're saying they're doing the Mandalorian and Boba Fett
Right.
as two separate
Yeah.
shows?
Right. That's
They're
what
for
I thought
They're
too.
filming separately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, and I didn't want that, but that's not happening. It's from the reports that have come out so far. They could be wrong. There hasn't been an official clarification from Disney, but people that work on the shows have come out and said that they are two different shows, and that Pedro has signed on for season 3 of Mandalorian. So, my feeling is that that's going to be going to Mandalore and dealing with the Darksaber and Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Jane, so I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sure that Grogu is going to come back. I think that Grogu is going to fail in his training. He's got too much dark side in him already. And Din is going to take him under his wing to train him as a Mandalorian. I think that's what's going to happen. That's my guess. So, okay, sorry. Go ahead, Jane.
I would love to see that. That was one of my early
Right.
hypotheses. Like, he's
Yeah.
going to become a foundling. And
Yes.
they're going to have to make a helmet for his ears. And
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
But I don't feel like, with what they did in this episode, I don't feel like I, at any point, was nervous about there not being Din Djarin in season 3. They set up him winning the Darksaber, and he pledged himself to help Bo-Katan, to help with whatever, as long as she helped him get Grogu back. And so I feel like at no point was he in danger of leaving the show. And then the little post-credit scene with Boba Fett saying that it was the Book of Boba Fett was coming out in December, when we had already been announced that The Mandalorian was coming back at Christmas time next year. That to me was immediately two different shows.
Yeah.
Because there's just no way that they could have done this story that they set up with him taking over Tatooine and the Mandalore thing with the Darksaber. Those were immediately two separate stories. So I didn't feel the nervousness that a lot of the internet felt.
Yeah. I'm jealous because I was nervous. But I was nervous, but I was also like ready to say goodbye to Din Djarin, because I just had, like Grogu just said goodbye to him, and I felt I'm like, oh man, this is it. He's leaving the show. Like, I thought that watching the episode, and I'm overjoyed to find out that that's not happening, because that was terrifying for me.
Well, plus they made a whole stink about Boba Fett not being actually Mandalorian. So I don't know. I just felt like with everything that happened in this episode, they were reassuring us leading up to that post-credit scene that, this is not becoming the Boba Fett show.
Yeah. Okay, there was another question that we have to address. Jesse M asked, does Grogu die because of the Kylo thing that happens in the future? Okay, so let's get into this, because we're just going to theorize a little bit. But the internet has also been freaking out about the idea that if Grogu is going to train with Luke, we know that eventually all of Luke's students are killed by Kylo Ren. So does anyone think that Grogu is going to die when Kylo Ren takes out the Jedi Training Academy?
I don't think so, for a couple of reasons. This is all hopeful and just speculation on my part. But the timeline right now, Luke is in his late 20s when he shows up to take Grogu, and he's kind of gristly by the time we see the flashback of him and Ben having the little confrontation. So I think enough time has elapsed that Grogu has grown up a little bit. Plus, he also already survived Order 66. So, he knows when things go sideways that he's got to cheese it. So, if he's still around, I don't feel like he would I don't think he would let himself be put in that situation a second time.
What about you, B?
I'm hopeful that he wouldn't be, because I agree. I feel like with the timeline, it has to be another. I mean, I feel like from the time that this episode happens, where Luke takes Grogu, to the time when Ben Solo becomes Kylo Ren, I feel like Grogu would have gone through his training already. That he wouldn't be, he wouldn't be a student anymore. He would have grown up and decided to go on his own path.
It's probably like 20 years.
Because, I was gonna guess 20 years, but I didn't want to be wrong.
Yeah,
I was like, it was like 20 years.
Because I think I read somewhere that Kylo Ren is around 23 when that moment happens, when the confrontation with Luke. So so I think it's at least 20 years. Yeah. So there's a lot that can happen. Yeah, Grogu might not be there. I mean, honestly, even if it ends up he did die in that, like, I mean, there's so much content and things we could do with baby Grogu in between. I don't know. I don't want to think about him getting killed, but I'm like, even if or if they somehow decide to explain that that's what happened, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't believe for a second that's going to happen. I feel like there's actually kind of a 0% chance that Grogu was slaughtered by Kylo Ren. It just I can't imagine that. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yoda survived and escaped. Grogu escaped. I mean, this species, they're so small. They just like go through the cracks. And maybe that's kind of like one of the benefits of being tiny. I mean, both him and Yoda were survivors, and they're little. They're little. They just hide. Yeah,
I feel strongly that Grogu is going to have problems trying to train to be a Jedi, and he's going to end up back with Din. I mean, the show.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, the show is so predicated on those two characters being together. You know, I think that they're going to be apart for a while, and who knows? It could even be like all of season 3, although I doubt that. But I feel like Din is going to go have his own adventures, and then they're going to reconnect at some point. And I really hope he trains Grogu as a Mandalorian. That'd be so cool. But yeah, I mean, like right now, according to the lore of the Darksaber, Din Djarin is the leader of Mandalore. I mean, that's something that we're going to have to wrestle with going forward. So which reminds me, there's something else we got to talk about. So in Rebels, Sabine Wren is a main character, and she comes into possession of the Darksaber. She actually finds it in what's his name? Darth Maul's house. Yeah, on Dathomir, where Darth Maul was living. She finds the Darksaber because he had it. Because at one point, Darth Maul was the ruler of Mandalore because he had the Darksaber. So she does not get it through combat from Darth Maul. And then she hands it to Bo-Katan. And the internet, again, has been up in arms this week about the fact that Bo-Katan refuses to take the Darksaber from Din. And everyone's like, plot hole. She took it from Sabine. Why won't she take it from Din? And I feel very firmly that this is not a plot hole. I think that obviously between Bo-Katan receiving the Darksaber in Rebels and the Mandalorian, at some point Moff Gideon got the Darksaber. And I'm wondering if he did that through combat with Bo-Katan. Who knows? And I hope that we find out. But I think that what happened is that she lost the Darksaber, and maybe she had a hard time ruling Mandalore because she hadn't won it through combat. And then on top of that, she loses it. So at this point, for her to claim the Darksaber, I think she would have to win it the way that tradition demands. I think there's a story that can be told there that completely makes this make sense. I do not think it is a plot hole.
I'm imagining that Dave Filoni and this crew would make that mistake, an error like that, when he was so involved with like I feel like I'm not. I heard that around the internet too, but I don't know. I just feel like that will be explained better.
Yeah. I read up a lot on the Darksaber after season 1, even though I haven't done all of Clone Wars and Rebels yet. But so like I got all this backstory before, and I didn't feel like it was a super plot hole. I just, with so much that has happened and all the Mandalorians scattered to the winds, I feel like this is a different situation than if they were back on their home world, and she got it from a friend who got it from, stealing it from an enemy. Like, this is a situation where she's got to win the throne back. So she's got to have the story with it. It's all very contextual. Yeah.
Let's get into Moff Gideon a little bit, because we've only talked about the last 5 minutes of this episode, and it's been an hour, so we got a lot to talk about. Moff Gideon's arc in this episode was exceptional. Giancarlo Esposito's performance was incredible, and I was so overjoyed with his performance in this episode. I feel like the subtlety of his performance was exceptional, but you could tell that he's that type of villain who's just like always one step ahead, kind of like Thrawn, kind of like the Emperor. You could tell that he knew that Din Djarin was probably going to defeat him and take the Darksaber, and he almost wanted that to happen because he wanted this conflict with Bo-Katan to happen. You could see, like, he thought he's like, this is delicious, when he got to the bridge and he saw Bo-Katan's face, and that she looked like murderous in that moment. Amazing performance by Katie Sackhoff. So I just love that he was willing to sacrifice his entire crew. I think that he expected that to happen, that everyone on board would die, and I don't think he cared. I think the only thing he didn't expect was Luke Skywalker showing up, because that's the only moment where he shows fear.
He was genuinely scared. He was literally shaking, and it's like he pooped his pants. He was so nervous in that moment.
Yeah, if Luke Skywalker was coming to kill me, I would. Firing. Yeah, it was so good. Does anyone have any thoughts on Moff Gideon and his arc that they want to share with the class?
One thing I kind of love that you see that stark difference where how much like Din Djarin has this sense of like honor, like when Moff Gideon is like, okay, take him, I got what I wanted, and Din like go trusts him, and his word is, and he goes into like without, and then he gets him with the surprise because Din Djarin is expecting him to have the same code of honor that he has.
I believed it for a second. I was like, he's going to let him walk out with Grogu. I believed it. I'm an idiot, but I believed it.
I didn't, because it reminded me, I remember the last scene, or one of the last episode of the first season, when they're trapped, in the kind of the blockade, when they're trying to escape, and when he's got all the troopers with the guy, he tells them, I'll give you some time to discuss or something, and then I think it's Grief Karga yells out like, can we trust you or something? And he says, no, but you can trust that I will do what's in my best interest.
Yeah.
That's what you can trust. So at the moment, this is in my best interest, but no, you can't trust me. So I don't know, like that came back to me. And so when he said, he's like, okay, I got what I was like, no, like I kind of felt like he was going to break that. He does what helps him in the moment. And that was, but yeah, his expressions were great. Like when he's just, again, like so confident and kind of like enjoying, like reveling in this like situation that, with Bo-Katan and Din and the whole Darksaber. And then, you can see like his expression just changed to like terror when he's like realizes what's happening with Luke Scott, probably not knowing it's Luke, but that there's a Jedi on here and that everything's falling apart. Like just great facial expressions.
I'm sure he knew who he was.
I think he knew, like the instant he saw the X-Wing and then the Dark Troopers turn around and face the bigger threat, he was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I guess no, since he is so, because even though like Din Djarin is so removed from the Jedi, and you're right, if he's like a high-ranking Imperial officer, he would know probably who Luke Skywalker was, probably.
Yeah, and I feel like so about that. Din Djarin never gets the name of the person that takes his child away.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody else in the room knew who that was, because it's like superstar of the galaxy and like took down the Emperor, and like everybody else is like, oh damn, Luke Skywalker just walked in. Din Djarin's like, are you a Jedi? Yeah. But yeah, I feel like everybody else in that room knew who it was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, someone said in chat, Ryan said in chat, that's right. He tried to shoot Grogu. The way he like, when he realized all was lost, and he just goes full, like grabs a gun, tries to shoot, I think Bo-Katan, then tries to shoot Mando, then goes right for Grogu, and then tries to kill himself.
Yeah.
That was pretty intense. Just like fire sale, like let's just it's over.
So I feel like he tried to take himself out because he knew that it was Luke Skywalker, and because they're trying to get Palpatine back. Like all of this behind the scenes kidnapping of baby Grogu, doing the M count blood study, they're trying to get him back, and he's trying to take himself out before Luke finds out what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I see. This is why I like the Rise of Skywalker, because I love that the sequel trilogy is all about Palpatine's second attempt at galactic domination, and that he's been working behind the scenes for 30 years to not just reclaim a body, but to reclaim the galaxy and to reclaim the Empire with the First Order. I think it's really cool. I mean, now that I'm like reading expanded universe stuff again, like reading Bloodlines and looking at what Princess Leia was up to when the First Order was starting to pop up, and I'm watching the Resistance cartoons, which is, right before The Force Awakens, just knowing that what they're fighting against is not just the return of, order through the Empire with the First Order, but also Palpatine. It really makes the story resonate more. I do wish that they'd known that when they made The Force Awakens, because they obviously didn't know until after The Last Jedi was finished that it was Palpatine. I think it would have made those movies more cohesive, but I do think that it's a really cool call to make, and that I think that it is a benefit to the Star Wars saga as a whole. And I actually kind of hope that he survived. I feel like when Rey kills him, I still am not convinced that Rey didn't take on all of the Sith, because she struck down the Emperor. I mean, sure, like he force lightninged himself into face melting, but it's really hard to kill. Ryan Casey asked, did you all think the Dark Troopers were scary? They were terrifying. Like when that Dark Trooper is punching Din Djarin in the face, I like felt that in my butthole. Like that was really intense.
Yes. So everybody who's seen Game of Thrones, it was like a flashback to the scene when Oberyn's fighting the mountain, and you're like, no, not the face.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But he was wearing a Beskar helmet, so it was okay.
Yeah. That fight was scary.
That was the best part. I mean, I felt, I was just like, that helmet's made of Beskar, but your face is not. Like, it's still punching you in the head. Like,
your head still rattles around in there.
Against your face. Like, oh God, please don't have. Like, is this it? Like, this is it.
It was terrifying.
They were intense, and I loved, and the music that was going on with the Dark Troopers, I think added so much to them.
Someone said that in chat, Dark Trooper dubstep. I think it was Adam, and that is so right on. And that music rocked. It rocked.
I always thought that dubstep was like robot fighting music, and the fact that they just leaned into it in this episode, I was like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
This has been the first time that Star Wars has ever used synthesizers in their music, and it's been so effective. I love synthesizers, and I think synthesizers in sci-fi music, like Blade Runner has shown us that it is the way, and the fact that Star Wars is now picking it up a little bit is really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Back towards the beginning of the episode, the planet that Din finds Bo-Katan on, I think that was Lothal from Rebels. Like, I've watched this twice, and I'm pretty sure that that's Lothal. And I found one article online that said what planet were they on earlier in the episode, and that person also guessed that it was Lothal, because we see the like all of that giant equipment in the background that looks a lot like what we saw on Lothal, and those big plains with like those like craggy cliffs sticking out. Like, does anyone in chat have any information about this, or do we think that that's Lothal? Because that is such a fun misdirect, because Lothal is the home planet of Ezra Bridger, and everyone expected Ezra Bridger to show up in this episode. So I love that that's where they went. It also makes sense that that's where Bo-Katan would go, because, Sabine and Hera spent a lot of time on Lothal. It's kind of their home base. And after the destruction of Mandalore, where's Bo-Katan going to go to catch a drink and chill out? Lothal makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I would be totally inclined to believe that it's Lothal. That actually, now that I'm thinking about what that cantina looked like, I'm like, I would be totally convinced that was Lothal. Wow, if that's the case, like, I mean, I completely trust Dave Filoni. We know this, right? So like, there are going to be Easter eggs upon Easter eggs that we didn't even know were there. If we go back and watch everything, it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm sure that something like that kind of detail as far as what planet they're on is going to be either an ode to something that exists already or a precursor to something that's to come. Like I would choose whatever planet they're on very intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I was also kind of wondering, like, how did he even find Bo-Katan, like, in this giant galaxy? So I don't know. I like that if it's planet, we've seen, like, if it's somehow some connection to her, that, I don't know, that it would make sense that they traced her there. Oh, I hope it's Lothal. I'm gonna have to watch that again, or go back and watch some of those Rebel episodes and try and
I feel like
see.
Off camera or something, she would have slipped him like here's my email. Because she was trying to like recruit him the first time they met. Like, come on, join us. You've got good fighting
that's
skills.
True. I mean, yeah, no, that's true. It's not that weird that they would. But it just seemed, they arrive on a planet and they just walk into. Oh, there she is. She's at this bar that we thought, like, of all the places in the galaxy.
It wasn't surprised when he walked in, though. She wasn't expecting it. So.
Mando just like slid into her DMs. Is like, hey, you up?
Yeah, for sure.
She's like, yeah, I'm on Lothal. Come get a drink.
Yeah.
So yeah. Of like, well, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go for it, Jenny.
Oh no, maybe I'm getting off topic. One of the things I noticed in this episode was the idioms. They were dropping a lot of Star Wars, and I wrote them down because I want to like Google all of this. Where he says, if that isn't a quacta calling the stifling slimy, was one of them. So I want to know what a quacta is.
Yeah. I think they made that up for this episode.
Skank and the Scud Pie was another one. Skank and the Scud Pie. And son of a mud scuffer.
Yeah.
Another one of my...
That reminds me of how amazingly awesome Cara Dune was in this episode. And that whole sequence where Bo-Katan and I don't remember her partner's name, Fennec Shand and Cara Dune were just like tearing into stormtroopers. Like at one point I turned to Annie, I'm like, this is all women, and this is the most badass thing I've seen all day. Like, it's so cool.
That made me emotional, honestly. Like, I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, let's get into it.
That moment felt like what Marvel was trying to do in Endgame. With that like shot of all the women, like where it felt really like forced and it didn't quite work. This was a way to do that where it felt totally authentic. Like it's not even like I noticed it the first time. I was like, yeah, girl power. Like I didn't even like think about it. I was just like, this is cool. It was only like second view. I was like, dang, like look, they're working so well together. Like that felt like the moment Marvel tried to do, but they did it better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like superior.
Yeah,
I love that.
Much more organic. Felt right. Casca Reeves.
I mean, from the moment
Casca Reeves.
From the moment that like Bo-Katan was going through strategy, like before they came in, like that's the moment where I was just like immediately engaged. I was like, okay, Bo-Katan is leading like all the strategy for like breaking in onto this light cruiser, and like they're basically saying like telling us what's going to happen before it happens, and it's just like the collective like experience of those four women coming in and logically just makes sense. I mean, Boba Fett has to stay on Slave One. It's like he has to stay on that ship. And then Mando is gonna go get Grogu. It's like, who else is gonna lead the charge? The four of them. My favorite moment though is when they're going across that bridge that has like you can see the galaxy below. Yeah. And the stormtroopers come and then the Mandalorians like skid off to the side. And then Cara Dune and Fennec goes, and then the stormtroopers come from behind and like stop. They want that voice though. Whether they keep using that same generic stormtrooper voice, like just is so satisfying every time. And then the two Mandalorian women fly back in and just take them all out. And I was just like, what am I
beautiful.
watching right now? Like, I was just so happy. Like
That's so
that
good.
paired with the fact that it was so diverse too. Like it wasn't, even though female diversity is also great, ethnic diversity makes me even happier in Star Wars. So the fact that it's, Ming-Na, I can't remember Cara Dune's the actress's name, but like the majority of them are not white females.
Yeah.
Like that probably is the hardest thing for me in Star Wars is that every time there's a lead female character, she's always white with brown hair. I mean, you can't argue that. Like Jyn Erso, Rey, Leia, like it's the same looking person every time. So the fact that we got a beautiful redhead and then 3 women of color, like, thank you. Please bring us in some diversity, please.
Yeah.
Not that it's just about what they look like, but it is about how we're going to allow that, the people who are consuming our content, who's going to relate to this? We want to be able to see ourselves, right? And see that we could be in this universe too.
That's
so yeah, I was super emotional.
So important. Yeah. No,
absolutely. And I can't wait to watch all of those ladies on screen. They were all kicking so much butt. I want to see many more scenes of them just like mowing people down. Okay, there were a lot of stormtroopers just getting like shot in the face and kicked and like thrown out airlocks in this episode. And I was like, oh, the death count's pretty high, but it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think they killed every single Imperial officer on that ship, except for Moff Gideon died, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
but
their
what
chemistry
about
was so. Sorry, what?
the other Imperial officer, the girl that had lines in previous episodes.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we ever caught her name. We didn't specifically see her on like her body on the bridge or her go down, so I feel like she might pop up again later.
I agree. I love that actress.
Or something.
Yeah, she's really well cast. I don't know the character's name, but I do hope we see her again. Adam asked, did we see the girl die? I think he's talking about Bo-Katan's partner, who Jane just said the name of, and I've already forgotten. Casca Reeves. The first time I watched this, I thought that either Casca Reeves or Bo-Katan died. I couldn't really tell. The second time I watched it, I'm sure that neither of them died, because the final shot... Yeah, the final shot when Luke walks away with Grogu and we turn back and we see the whole main cast standing there watching them walk away. Both women are standing, look okay. So I think she just took some blaster bolts in the Beskar and she's totally fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's on Black Lightning. Yeah. Which I'm also watching. I'm watching the season she's on right now. Season 3. Oh, the officer. Okay. Oh, never mind. Sorry, I misread you. Yeah. So we don't know if she died. I hope not.
Yeah, we didn't see that officer die.
I don't think so. I feel like we'll see her again.
I love the scene where her gun, where Cara Dune's gun jammed.
I know.
I thought that was such a great, and like immediately Fennec Shan's like, I got you. Like, don't worry about it. And she just like takes them all out on her own. But I just love that, and she's just like sitting there like, come on, like I just thought that was a great little thing.
And everyone else is like just so confident.
These 4,
and they're just like, "Do you need help?"
Yeah,
like, you're making us look bad.
I could watch the 4 of them.
Yeah,
I could watch the 4 of them fight together like all day long. I would watch a whole show of just the 4 of them raiding Imperial ships, like just
please.
Alone.
Yeah, I love this so much. Someone was talking about this scene where Bo-Katan lays out the plan. And 2 things I have to say about that. One is that Katie Sackhoff's performance was excellent. Like, she's rattling off all this stuff as if it's coming out of her brain. And she had such a commanding presence in that moment. And I just completely bought her performance and love that so much. She's so good. And then also, the plan that they lay out is exactly what happens, you know? Like, they basically describe in the beginning of the episode what's going to happen for the entire rest of the episode, minus one thing, which is the appearance of Luke Skywalker. But I was struck by that. Like, you know, so TV has taken this turn since Lost, where they're always trying to surprise you. It's like every episode of Lost, the end was like, what? You know, like the end of everything was a shock because it was an unexpected twist. And every episode is like trying to one up itself for surprising you to the point where you're like, I am so sick of this show because it's all meaningless. And I feel like The Mandalorian has done the exact opposite, where it has gone out of its way to tell you what's going to happen, to the point where Katie Sackhoff spells out everything that's going to happen in this episode. And they've already told us that we're contacting a Jedi, and which Jedi makes the most sense to show up. It's Luke Skywalker. So this episode, in essence, is the most predictable episode of the entire series. On top of the fact that it's like they've been setting up this fact that Din Djarin is going to take off his helmet. All of this is so predictable, but it's all done so exceptionally well that it doesn't matter. And I really like took something from that. As someone who like wants to tell stories as well, it's like sometimes you don't have to surprise your audience. You have to give them the most obvious thing and just do it to the best of your ability, and it will sing. You know, it will just soar, and I love that.
Yeah, do it well, and you don't have to pad it. Just like it's just succinct. Like some of these episodes are fairly short. This one was what, like 45 minutes?
Yeah.
So they crammed a lot.
Yeah.
They didn't have to make it like a 3-part, arc or anything. They're just like, all right, we're gonna get the crew together, we're gonna get the ship, we're gonna get Baby Grogu, we're gonna wrap it all up, and then we're done. It was very tight. It was good.
Yeah, we were. Oh, go ahead, B.
Oh, no, sorry. We were talking a little bit about a while ago about our responses to Giancarlo Esposito's performance. One of the moments that I wanted to talk about or just highlight was when he did lose the Darksaber and he didn't die. He wasn't killed. Din Djarin didn't kill him, and he was like, "You're sparing my life." He's like, "This will be interesting," and like the fact that he knew he could gloat to Bo-Katan about the fact that there's no chance you can't, like you didn't get what you came for. And I thought of that because we were talking about how you got exactly the plan that was set, except that Moff Gideon wasn't on the bridge and she didn't get to fight him to take the Darksaber. That was the one piece of the plan that didn't.
Right, totally.
So it's like, woo, so anyway, that just reminded me of that moment.
Yeah, and Din was supposed to get to the Dark Troopers and shut the door before any of them got out, and one got out. Yep. And that was one of the best action sequences of the whole episode, I think. That fight was stellar. And it's so funny because we saw 3 entire movies, a 7-series TV show all about fighting droids. And this made it feel like a new thing. Like this was like a battle droid all of a sudden felt like a whole new idea. Because this is the first time that a battle droid has ever been scary or ever seemed threatening at all in Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so good, and so just every moment was packed with something, but not gratuitous anything. Like it was all perfect. I don't know how else to say it. It was perfect.
Well, yeah, I didn't notice.
Just made a really good point about how scientists' fate, and I feel like this third time I watched it, they said something in that planning before they like burst into like where the cruiser was. I felt like they said something that kind of hinted at where he was going. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe he just stayed on the Slave One with Boba Fett then.
I think they probably turned him into the Republic. That's my guess.
Yeah, Cara Dune said something about the New Republic's price just doubled because Moff Gideon's alive, so they can pump him for information now.
Yeah. How awesome was it to see TIE fighters being launched?
Yeah.
So cool.
Brain said that was TIE fighter porn.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
That was another one of those moments like I didn't know I needed.
Yeah.
But it was again like everything about this series just feels so visceral, and these first person points of views that you get to like glide out with the TIE fighter, almost like you're on like Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland, which I still haven't gotten to go on, but
I know, right?
Yeah, like I've been here for 9 months and I haven't gotten to go to freaking Rise. It's right there. It's so close to me. It's like 20 minutes. I mean, there's a lot of worse things happening right now than me not being able to go to Disneyland. But yeah, dude, there was throughout this show, there's been a lot of shots like that. Again, things I didn't know I needed that just really make you feel like you're in the cockpit of a TIE fighter. Like getting to see that point of view was so cool. Like just these little details, man. Like you just feel part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what was so brilliant about the original trilogy, is that you felt like it was real and you felt like you knew these people and you cared about what happened to them, you know? And Star Wars does that better than almost anything. You know, the whole lived in universe feeling where everything is all scuffed up and broken, and the Millennium Falcon is just this bucket of cobbled together bolts, but it's the fastest ship in the galaxy. And all of that is just
retro tech.
Yeah. And the prequels didn't do that on purpose, because this is like, you know, the height of the Galactic Republic, so we're seeing a different time, but I didn't connect to it. You know, I didn't enjoy it that much, or anywhere near as much as I like the other stuff. But this is like the height of Star Wars feeling real. The technology, besides Luke's rubber face, with this volume that they shoot in, with all those LED lights in the background, that, you know, the actors are seeing what we see on screen, on set. And that is just this massive leap forward, so that when Pedro Pascal is there and Grogu is there, there's a real Grogu on set that he's acting against. And these things make such a big difference when you're not just on a green screen, like screaming about how you hate Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's a lot harder to make that feel real when you don't actually see the fires of Mustafar behind you, you know? So I mean, if this is the future of Star Wars, like we all have a reason to stay alive. Like, this is really exciting, you know? I mean,
pressed. Keep going, because we've got more Star Wars. I'm excited to see they're releasing a special on Christmas Day, another documentary. Did you hear about that?
I did, yeah. The
Mandalorian,
the gallery,
like a gallery thing. I'm really
stoked
excited.
about that.
I think they're going to go into like how they did the Luke Skywalker scene and the digital face technology, and so I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, me too. Ugh, it's all so good. Is there anything in this episode we haven't talked about? We've skipped around a lot, but I feel like we've covered most everything.
I mean, it's just like, it's nerdgasms galore. Like, the entire episode. Like, it's like insane.
Yeah.
I know, it's like, I've watched it 3 times, but every time it's just like, I'm overwhelmed.
It was the best I've ever had.
The best.
So good. I think so. This was the 3rd time we've seen his face.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the other 2 were not really as much of a choice as this time. So I feel like this was almost like the final barrier of him taking it off, choosing to take it off, not because he had to do it to get something done. Like, first time his life was in danger, and the IG-11 had to take it off to save him. And the second time, he had to do it to get the information to get Grogu. And this time, he chose to do it to have a real, genuine moment, you know, with his kid before going separate ways. And I feel like this is a new chapter for him, where he's going to feel more like a normal Mandalorian instead of one of these Death Watch or Child of the Night Watch or Death Watch.
Children of the Watch.
So, like, Children of the Watch. Yeah, I can't remember what they called. But like, this is him finally saying, you know, I choose this. This is okay for me. So I felt like that was more groundbreaking than the other 2 times.
Yes. I feel like the other 2
going forward.
The other 2 times like prepared him for this moment where he made the choice to. Yeah. It was like, he gave this gift to Grogu because he needed to part having seen his face for real. Because like Mando, we've seen what he sees. You know, like he sees this like Geordie LaForge version of the world through his mask, through his helmet. So it is really powerful. I think also for himself, he wanted to see Grogu with his own eyes, you know? But the fact that it is a gift to Grogu, like, here is my face. You've never seen it before. I can't part ways without you having seen me now that I've taken my helmet off and I've felt the difference, because he's just denied that to himself his whole life. it's just such a powerful moment. I mean, perfectly crafted, you know, everything about this was so perfectly crafted besides Luke's face looking fake. And you know, nothing is perfect, and we just got to take the good with the bad, but the creative intention was perfect, you know, to have it be Luke Skywalker. Now that we know that it was Luke, it could never have been anyone else. No one else would have made sense. No one else would have fit the story. Because right, because for Grogu to leave Mando, you know, he wanted to leave him with Ahsoka. And then that didn't happen, and we're all like, of course that didn't happen, because they have to stay together for this show to work. But then it does happen at the end of the season, and it's heartbreaking. It's something we knew could happen, but it's still so heartbreaking, and that's what I love about it so much. And just that the performance of both the puppet and of Pedro, just it doesn't get better than that. It's so incredible.
Jenny, I think you mentioned this, like just the subtlety, because the close-up of, you know, of Grogu reaching and towards Din Djarin's face and touching the helmet, and then when he took it off and we got to see, like you said, just like he barely moved his face too. Like that's a master actor, because you know, especially in film, anything you do, any movement you make tells a story. An eyebrow raise, you know, changes the whole moment. You know, any motion you have tells the story of your character. So the fact that we got to see the little twitch in the corner of his mouth, like him smiling at him, finally touching his face and then looking at others, I was just like, it was like, we already talked about it, but it was just masterfully done. And I feel like it's going to leave a mark. Like, I don't know how they can top this kind of storytelling, but we have the same creators moving forward. We have the team, like we have the dream team of John, you know, Favreau and Dave Filoni moving forward. And like, that's what gives me confidence, because it was overwhelming to hear about all these new shows coming out at the same time. But it's also kind of like, if you loved The Mandalorian, guess what? We have so much more coming for you. Like, it kind of was like this promise of more to come. And I don't know what all of the timeline of that, because it's like, I don't know if that means in the next 2 years, all of that stuff's going to drop, or in the next 3 years, who knows? But like, I'm optimistic about what the future holds if these two men are leading the ship, you know, and then some of the same brilliant directors that we got in this series too. It's amazing. I'm like really sad that I don't have anything to watch on Fridays anymore. Like, I'm the kind of person that likes to binge everything at once, but like, I will be rewatching this many times. You know, but like, it's so satisfying. I don't even know what to do with myself.
Oh wow, Adam's reading all Legends books. There's like 300 plus.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I'm just getting into the new canon. I just finished Dark Disciple. I started I started the one you told me to start. Was it Lords of the Sith? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like a fifth of the way through. The stuff between Palpatine and Vader is so good. I love it so much. Everything else, I'm just like, get me back to Palpatine and Vader. All the stuff from the Rebels. It's interesting because it's Harrison Dula's father, which is kind of cool, and it's good. But yeah, the stuff between Palpatine and Vader is absolutely wonderful. And I'm going to read Master and Apprentice after that. Yeah. Yeah, Adam, some of those books were so incredibly good. Yeah, Dia, we were talking about Dark Disciple. I just finished that. It was fantastic.
Started it.
Yeah.
I went back and rewatched the episodes of the Clone Wars with him in it, because that was one of the ones I'd kind of like, the episodes with Zero the Hutt. That's where we meet Quinlan Voss in Clone Wars, and I kind of like doing other stuff, and I didn't really pay attention, so I actually stopped watching the book or reading the book to go watch that episode, so I could like, I don't know. I'm excited for the books. I'm loving Dark Disciples so far. It's a lot more fun and like fast paced than the Thrawn. I finished Thrawn, and I really love, like, I still would recommend reading that Thrawn Ascendancy whatever book. But it is, like I said, it is mostly there are a lot of descriptions of battle scenes and a lot of politics, so I loved it. But it was that this one I'm already a little more engaged. It's just a little more, and you can also tell, I read the foreword that was a script writer. Maybe Bean told me this, that she was a writer for the Clone Wars. So it almost feels like you're watching an episode of Clone Wars.
Super cool. Well,
Excited.
Shall we rate this episode?
We even need to rate this episode. 25.
Yeah. How high does the scale go? Because it's more than 10.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to rate this one because, I mean, we've had a couple 10 out of 10s this season, but this has the best moment of the series in it, in my opinion. When Grogu and Mando say goodbye, like nothing. Oh man, one of my favorite moments in TV film history. It's just absolute magic. So incredible. So obviously I feel like the episode as a whole is a 10 out of 10. I wish I could give it more. Maybe we can. Maybe we'll give it a best moment of Star Wars bump.
Yes. I say yes.
This episode is why I try to rate everything on a bit of a scale, because if we're rating out of 10, like there's no question that this is absolutely the tippy top. This is the maximum effort, all stars given. It's perfection, and there's no way to top this. I mean, I'm sure there will be moments that come close, but this is it. This is the best one.
Yeah. I mean, my only criticisms of this episode, I have two. One is that Luke looked fake, but we've already talked about that extensively. Yeah. My only other criticism is that there are moments in this episode where I feel like Baby Yoda, Grogu, does not emote as much as I'd want him to. Like when he first sees Din, when he's in prison, the reaction from Grogu is not as big as I wanted it to be. And the puppet,
he was like groggy from having all his blood drained.
Totally.
Like,
yeah. We've all been there. Yeah. And I can kind of explain it away, but but the moment at the end when he says goodbye, the puppet 100% sells it for me. But earlier moments in the episode, I felt like the puppet wasn't quite selling it the way I wanted him to. But like the incredibleness of the ending and just the episode as a whole is one of the tightest pieces of Star Wars ever. So how can that not be at least a 10 out of 10, at the very least? Yeah.
I do agree with you though, Jesse. I thought the same thing when we saw Grogu in the cell with Moff Gideon. I was like, he seems like he's not moving much. But if you put in the context that, they've been draining his blood. Also, who knows how long Moff Gideon's been in there holding the Darksaber over his head, and you're in chains. Maybe.
There's Miles. He's wearing a sweater. He got a haircut, so he's really cold.
Oh, buddy.
Good boy. What did you think? What did you think of the episode? Just talk right in the mic. See, he's less expressive than Baby Yoda.
Story.
Yeah, Falcor. Good boy. Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah.
Look at his cute face. Who's cuter,
Adam, how did you find
Grogu
that
or Miles? That's
just like him.
That is him. That's my channel members.
I know.
Have access to a Miles emote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here.
What did you just find? Did you just make an emoji now for the dog?
Adam, can you display all of our custom? Oh, he did it. I was just gonna ask him to display all of our custom emotes.
Andy's in there.
Yeah, there's Andy, there's me, there's Fry. There's a LaCroix can, and the flavor is Jeff Goldblum's chest. Zoidberg, and then the power crystals is from when I was gaming on this channel. I gotta get emotes on my gaming channel so I can use that again. I should switch that one out though. Yes. Great. So if you join the channel, it helps support these streams and it gives you access to custom emotes as well as some other fun things. So we actually have a special announcement to make. This is something I'm very excited about. So I'm having too much fun with Star Wars Club. This is not something that I'm ready to stop doing. I love looking forward to hanging out with you all and talking about Star Wars and just science fiction in general on Sunday nights. It's been so great. I used to have a podcast called Sci-Fi on Trial where we would have panel discussions where we debate controversial sci-fi movies. And what I've decided to do is continue meeting on Sunday nights and do trials of Star Wars movies. So hopefully next week, if not the week after, I will let you know for sure, but we're planning on next week. We're going to do the trial of The Phantom Menace, which was actually the first movie that we put on trial for the podcast version of Sci-Fi on Trial. So we're going to restart Sci-Fi on Trial as a live stream. You all will have a chance to vote many times. It's an interactive voting show. We're going to break down the movies in... Yes, Ryan Casey remembers. So Ryan Casey and Andrew Creech, who are in the chat, have both been a part of it. I actually want to talk to you guys because I'm still figuring out the details. And if we could have everyone in the same room, it'd be one thing, but doing it over Discord, it gets a little tricky. The more voices we have, the harder it is to keep things contained. But I would love to have you guys come back as well. I have just telling you about this now. So yeah, everyone in Star Wars Club is going to be invited. And then I know Jane might not be able to join us because she's got some busy life stuff going on, but she will definitely be invited anytime she's free. We're going to go in chronological order because I feel like the prequels have no shot unless we go in chronological order. But we're going to give, we're going to go through these movies in explicit detail, and we're going to rate them. We'll talk about the format next time when we meet. So so we will have definitive ratings for all of the Star Wars movies when we're done with this. So we're going to go through, my plan is to go through all of them. We're going to start with Phantom Menace, see how it goes. If everyone hates it, we won't keep going, but this is what I want to try. I can't wait for the controversial sequels as well. But I also just really want to rewatch all Star Wars movies. I haven't seen the prequels in like 5 years. So I'm planning on doing 6:30 just because I know like people get off work. The people that are involved in the stream, that is a good time for us to meet. So yeah, my plan is the same time next week. If I have to push it back a week, I'll let you guys know in Discord. I'm also going to post something on the channel on the community board about this. So yeah, Star Wars Club will continue as Sci-Fi on Trial. So everyone go rewatch The Phantom Menace before next week because that's where we're going first. I'm very excited about it. I just want to say a huge thank you to Jenny, B, and Jane. And also Doug, who unfortunately is hit his busy time at work and hasn't been able to join us since the first episode of the season. But Star Wars Club has been so fun. I love doing this so much. I'm definitely going to want to keep doing this when the million new shows come out. Yes, it's still going to be on YouTube. Yeah, right here on this channel. Yeah. So any closing thoughts from any of our panelists or from chat? Thank you so much, Adam.
Oh, we forgot to talk about Jeremy Bulloch, who passed, like on Thursday, like the day before the final episode, with this great announcement about Boba Fett getting his own show. That was really sad.
Yeah, and David Prowse as well, who played Darth Vader, died recently, and we forgot to talk about that when it happened. David Prowse died of COVID. Do we know if Jeremy Bulloch, what he passed away from? I feel like it might have been COVID as well, but I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Heard that too.
He was 75.
Yeah, he wasn't that old.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very sad.
He had Parkinson's.
Okay.
From that.
Yeah, so I mean, two of the most iconic performances of men in suits that we've ever had, Darth Vader and Boba Fett from the original trilogy, both passed away in the last month or so. So, very sad.
I did think it was, I mean, obviously it was very sad, but it was kind of nice to see the character that he helped create the very next day got a nice...
Got his own show!
Legacy. So it was really cool.
Yeah. Well, Jane, thank you for reminding us about that.
I was wondering about that when we got that news. I was like, oh boy, if the way I thought the show was gonna go, this is gonna hit differently if Boba Fett died. Given like the episode airing like right after the real actor died. I almost was like,
man.
ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll
totally.
be like
I'm
Be like Black Widow in Marvel, like someday. When is that coming out now? May of next year?
May.
Weird.
Yeah.
Wait till May.
There's so much
I
good
really thought
stuff
they were
coming.
gonna drop it on Disney Plus and do the Mulan thing.
I thought they were.
I never need to leave the house again.
Yeah, I thought for sure. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a rough year, you know?
Wonder Woman, someone pointed out, we get Wonder Woman is going to be on HBO Max on
Right.
Christmas Day, so I'm really excited
Right.
for that. I love Wonder
And like
Woman.
all Warner Brothers movies that were supposed to come out in theaters next year, they're just like, we're just gonna put them out on HBO Max because why not?
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
some controversy around that. I heard like a lot of actors are kind of protesting that because it's, yeah, I don't know. I hope we go back to actually, I want to go out to the movies. I'd rather see these things on a big screen,
Yeah.
especially Star Wars and things like Marvel and Star Wars. I mean, Marvel and Star Wars are pretty much the only thing I see in theaters anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the last several times I went to the movie theater was either Marvel or Star Wars. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually wait for other things. But
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Sam? Yeah, I mean, it's been a really bad year, but I got to say that, like, having one of the best pieces of Star Wars ever made happen right at the end of the year just made me feel a little bit better about 2020. You know, like, no matter what you... Yeah, no matter what else happened in 2020, we also got season 2 of The Mandalorian, which was exceptional. I mean, let's rate the series as a whole, and then we'll wrap up for the evening. But, and I want to hear from chat as well. Just type out the number from 0 to 10. How good was season 2 as a whole? And was this better than season 1? What do you guys think? Let's start with B.
Ooh, better than season 1. That's hard. So we're rating the whole season out of 10. I feel like, I don't know. I felt like with season 1, it was very cohesive in a way that it wasn't predictable, but I felt like very comfortable in what happened. Like that finale, I think, was the most like excited I felt. Like that finale really was like the highlight of season 1 for me. But with season 2, there was so much surprise. Like there was so much I wasn't expecting to happen, and it felt less predictable, for lack of a better term. And I love being surprised. Surprises are like one of my favorite things in life. So I feel like because season 2 took us to so many places and explored so many things and characters that I just didn't expect at all. I think I prefer season 2 over season 1. And we have the spider episode, the like octopus spiders. That's such a weird episode. And then, there's a couple weird things that happen in season 2. I'm like, is that going to decrease my rating? I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to do it. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I think I'm going to give series 2 a 10 out of 10. I was thinking like maybe 9.5 for some of the weird things that have happened, but like now knowing what, like the whole story, like now knowing all 8 episodes, I'm like, I can't be mad. Like now I feel like it all makes sense and I'm not mad at it. So I would give it the whole thing a 10 out of 10.
Nice. What about you, Jane?
Totally agree with B. I thought this whole season was amazing. Yeah, there were a couple of episodes that I didn't give 10 out of 10s, just because, for whatever reason, they didn't shine quite as brightly. But even the ones that, I called filler and some people took offense to, they're still amazing TV. Like, just because they weren't this episode, like the last episode, I felt like it was a bridge to get here. But it was still important. It gave us a lot of good backstory. It gave redemption to a character that nobody liked to begin with, and it made us care about this world even more. So every step along the way of this season was necessary and perfectly timed and I want to say flawless. Like I absolutely give it a 10 out of 10.
What about you, Jenny?
Yeah, it's like it's hard to give things 10 out of 10, but I'm like, if this isn't a 10 out of 10 season, I don't know what is. Like, I don't know if I want to be that hard on them. Like, what do they have to do to get a 10? Like, this finale, like, I've never felt this way before about. And I think
Yeah.
the first season, I mean, the surprise of it all, like, just like, you know, opened the door to this kind of new era in Star Wars. It was so unexpected. Like, I sat down because I'm like, of course I'm going to watch it. Like, but I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. But the second season, like, I don't think I had as many moments in the first season as this one where I'm just like literally like on the edge of my seat. Literally, it's getting a physical reaction out of me that very few other TV shows have done. And the way they struck that balance of like, yeah, like it is, I don't even like calling because fan service seems negative. Like when it's done as well as this, it's just, I don't know, good TV. Like, yeah, 10 out of 10, and I'd give the first season maybe a 9 out of 10. Yeah, because otherwise, what is? They deserve it. They deserve a 10 for this, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when we had Star Wars Club on the Space Nerds podcast, and I think I gave season 1 a 10 out of 10. And I actually feel like season 2 is better than season 1. I think that the overall emotional arc, the pacing, the way the story is plotted through all 10 episodes is really, really great. But episode 2 is not good. The one with the spiders and the snow planet, that episode is not great. So even though I feel like, I know I gave season 1 a 10, and I think season 2 is better than season 1, but I think season 2, I would give it a 9.5. And I'm only marking it down for there being one episode that I didn't think was good. But it's also like, if everything else was better, I mean, season 1 never really reached the level that the finale of season 2 reached, because nothing has before. So do I grade on a curve, and is that like an 11 out of 10, and then the whole season gets a 10 out of 10? Perhaps, but I'm going to give it a 9.5 because it's arbitrary, and I decide that's what I'm going to do. I give this a lower score than season 1, but I think that it is better than season 1. So that makes no sense, and I'm sticking to it.
Overall.
I mean, credit. I think that was such a feat, an impressive feat, to tying in to the animated shows the way they did, and connecting, sowing these seeds like that. Like, that's why episode 3, to seeing Bo-Katan and realizing that it was her, I just that's brilliant, the way they were able to tie in that. That could have gone really wrong. I feel like trying to do it. It's really risky, but
yeah.
The animated shows plus the new movies, like with the story of how Palpatine comes back, they're threading a lot of needles, and they're doing it very well.
Yeah, they've made the animated shows required viewing for Star Wars fans, which is, I mean, it's really smart in a lot of ways. Like, as a business, if you're making content, all of it should be required viewing. And I love that, you know, they've kind of retroactively made some of the less savory Star Wars, like the first few seasons of Clone Wars or the prequels, in my opinion. They are still required viewing if you want to fully experience what The Mandalorian has to offer. Because, like, otherwise you won't know what an M count is. You know, you won't have the backstory that you need to fully appreciate the state of the galaxy. So the approach of accepting all canon, I think this is really Dave Filoni's approach. Like, when you watch the gallery, Mandalorian gallery, where he talks about the prequels, and he talks about that fight between Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul, and how in episode 1 that fight is a turning point for the entire galaxy, because Qui-Gon was not a part of the Jedi Council, and he wanted to raise Anakin in the Force, and he wanted to use love and compassion because he felt like the Council was getting away from love and compassion and kind of getting out of touch with what they were supposed to be. And the fact that he dies, and Obi-Wan, who talked about Anakin as if he were a useless person like Jar Jar Binks, him being the one to raise Anakin is part of why Anakin goes to the dark side. So that one fight being this like turning point for the entire galaxy, that whole like thing that he says is so brilliant, and I've always loved that fight but not liked the rest of that movie. But then it kind of made me appreciate the rest of that movie a little bit more, like, because he kind of talked about the things that I didn't like about it are intentional. Like Obi-Wan being aloof and superior is intentional. Holy crap, Adam G just donated $50 and says, just in case I don't see you before Christmas, Merry Christmas. Thanks for the awesome streams. Wow, Adam, thank you so much. That is amazing. And here's our Stormtrooper dance party. Very appropriate. It's completely covering Jenny. Well, thank you so much, Adam. I really appreciate that. All right. Well, this has been amazing. I feel like that is a great note to end this on. We're going to be talking about a lot more about episode 1 next time we meet for the trial of the Phantom Menace. I'm very excited about that. This has been wonderful. Thank you all so much, Jenny, B, and Jane. Thank you, chat. Thank you, Miles. Thank you, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, for making one of the best seasons of television ever. It's been a joy to talk about it. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful holiday, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye. May the Force be with you.